Hey, homeowners, when was the last time you checked on your home title? That, of course, is the legal record proving that you own your home. Yep, if your answer is never, then this is for you. Scammers are stealing titles. Yeah, they're stealing the title to your home. Your equity is the target. That's why I partnered with Home Title Lock so you could find out today if you're already a victim. Don't be a victim. Use my promo code Anthony at HometitleLock.com and you'll get a free title history report. Plus, you're going to get a free trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. Another week. Just gone. So fast. Oh, my goodness gracious. And so much happens in those 7 days, doesn't it? And then we come here on Sunday evening and discuss our disgust with what is going on. You want to get involved with the show tonight? Sure. You can do that. 800-848-9222 and talk about whatever's on your mind, whatever's going on, what's going on. Of course, during the clip at the beginning of the show, I talked about the cop killer that was being mourned by Democrat politicians and liberals, communists. And I forgot to add in that Mamdani, Zohran Mamdani, the, of course, Democrat candidate for mayor of New York City, refused to disavow anybody or anything that praised this this murderer. Just crazy. Just crazy. But don't be too distressed. I know people like to get what they call black-pilled. You see what's going on in the world and you just get depressed. You curl up in the fetal position at the bottom of the shower and you insist that nothing can be done. We're doomed as a nation, as a planet, as a species. And I don't want you to do that. Definitely don't want you to do that. So there are good things happening. There are good things happening. Now, don't sit there and expect me to start blurting out some great news about child's birthday parties or a woman that lived to be 102. I don't mean good news like that. I mean good news like Trump sending in the troops to Chicago, Portland, and Memphis. Now, that is good news. You know, I've been watching the videos coming out of Portland for the most part. Some out of Chicago. I haven't really seen anything out of Memphis yet. But, of course, the Democrats up in arms. Oh, boy, they couldn't be more pissed that Donald Trump has dubbed their fair city incompetent when it comes to fighting crime and taking care of law enforcement that are out there doing their job. So he has decided, like he did in D.C., hey, I'm gonna send some people in there. It doesn't seem like you can handle this by yourself. Certainly doesn't seem like you got a line on this and can deal with your own problems. So I'm sending in some troops to walk around the streets, drive around in some military-like vehicles. I'll tell you one thing, and I don't know. Everybody that's watched the clips has to think the same thing. I played paintball in my day, back in the mid to late 80s. It was the rage, and I loved it. Dress up in your fatigues, you go out in the woods, team up, and you just blast each other with paintball guns, and it was a blast. You could get people to pay money. Here's a great way for a city to make some money. Charge, and it could be any amount, an exorbitant amount of money for people to come in. They take a quick class. They put on some type of fatigues. Then you hand them the pepper ball paint gun. And you get to go out with the ICE officers or whatever law enforcement is taking care of these protesters at any given moment in one of these cities. And they get to shoot pepper balls at these protesters. Your deficit would be gone. You'd have money left over. Start planning on paving the streets with gold with all the money you would make. Because, oofa, what a blast that looks like. And the great thing about the videos we're seeing now as opposed to the videos that we had seen years ago with the St. Georgia Floyd riots and the Mike Brown riots and then just the riots, because why not? Burn down stuff and loot stores. And the videos back then, and I used to feel terrible for the cops. They would stand in a straight line protecting whatever, their precinct, the courthouse, businesses, and they'd all line up shoulder to shoulder with their glass riot shields, plexiglass, and they would stand there. And these garbage Gen Zers, these liberal mutant mental patients, would walk right up to them, spit on them, yell epithets at them, and throw things over the shields. And they would just stand there. They would have to stand there and take it. And it was really frustrating as a law-abiding citizen who respects law enforcement and understands their place in a civil society. I felt bad, and I hated watching those douche. Can I say a douche? Get away with this, getting away with standing there and taunting and assaulting police officers. And they were told by everyone, well, you just got to stand there. Boy, are those days over. And it is fantastic to watch. Thank God for the internet and social media when things like this happen. We see so much nastiness and stuff we don't agree with. And then you get to punch up a video and see ICE agents just cracking some heads and pushing people on their asses. It is fantastic. And I couldn't be happier to see it. They're clearing out a lot of this riffraff, if I may use such language, from the front of their buildings. ICE has a building, and that's where they are based out of, and they have to come and go in their vehicles to do the job that we want them to do. That's what we voted for. And then you see these dummies that probably watched a bunch of the videos from a few years back and like, this will be fun. I'll be able to yell at the cops and stand in front of their cars and they won't be able to do anything. We'll chant shame, shame, shame. Ugh. And then you see now, it doesn't matter. The little skinny femboy beta guys, the big fat broads. I saw a fat broad get pushed down on her ass by the cops. It was exquisite. I watched it about 5 times, laughed every single time. And then the rest of the dummies in the crowd, hey, what are you doing, fascist Nazi? Hey, these people, they don't know what they're doing. And they don't know there's a new sheriff in town. New sheriff in town, boys. They're not just going to stand there and take it anymore. So it's refreshing to see. It really is. And a lot of the leadership, that's a goof of a word these days. A lot of the leadership in Memphis and Portland and Chicago, they are so dead set against Donald Trump doing this. And they get on the news, they get in front of a camera in their podium and talk about how great their city is and how crime is down and how they're working with law enforcement. And meanwhile, you see plenty of these videos. No, law enforcement is not free to do we pay them what we want them to do, make our cities and towns safer, lock up criminals. I saw one of these dopes. The cops chased him down and tackled him. About 3 cops put him in handcuffs, and they stand him up, and the crowd's yelling, "Shame, shame, shame." All the puppets chanting the same thing like a cult. And they're all asking the guy, "What's your name? We'll get you. What is he?" Someone's yelling, "What is he being detained for?" There is no obligation by law enforcement to tell you anything. Anything. The person in cuffs doesn't have to be told anything until that situation is under control. Until that person's cuffed, they're brought to a vehicle or a holding truck or whatever it is, and then you can explain what the problem is. Every one of these idiots has this twisted notion that there are things in place that the cop has to immediately tell you what you're being detained for. Not true. Top priority with these officers is controlling the situation. And if they're arresting someone and there's 20 other idiots surrounding them, their responsibility at that point is not to answer every one of these morons' questions. It is to get control of the situation, whoever they just arrested, get them to where they're taking the arrested people, and then you can start talking to that person. There is no obligation to tell any of these bystanders what is going on. Why? Why is he being... What's your name and badge number? The 2 most useless things you can ask a cop in 2025. It's going to be on every single report, so don't worry about it. And what are you going to do? Jot it down? And then what? How many pieces of paper with cops' names and badge numbers have been taken out of these idiots' pockets when they go back to mommy's house at night, crumbled up and thrown in the garbage? Just morons. They don't understand how anything works. They're all these idiotic wannabe lawyers with garbage pail lid shields and Disney lightsaber swords, and they're going to take on the world. Embarrassing. You're an embarrassment. All right, my goodness. I see all the phones are lit up. We'll get to you guys and a lot more when we continue with the Anthony Cumia Show. Kind of talking about Trump putting the National Guard in Chicago, Memphis, and Portland, Oregon. And Chicago, we got a little thing here, what was going on Sunday. I guess this was today, earlier today. Federal agents marched along Michigan Avenue, the Chicago River, and upscale neighborhoods, attracting attention from shoppers and families dining at sidewalk cafes. Many used phones to record. Activists also trailed the U.S. Customs and Border Protection agents, blowing whistles and shouting. Ooh, look out. I hope they're trained for that. I hope these guys, most of them are former military or other police organizations. I sure hope they could take blowing whistles and shouting. Blowing whistles, that's their buddy's name. It's another friend of theirs, a guy named Whistles. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson and Illinois Governor J.B. Fatso Pritzker blasted the sudden physical show of force. I quote, I guess this is Johnson. While Chicagoans and visitors are enjoying another gorgeous Sunday, they are being intimidated by masked federal agents flaunting automatic weapons for no apparent reason, Johnson said in a statement. I saw a few videos so far from Chicago. You know what I saw? Yeah, people pull their phones out, they take some videos, and they're thanking them. They're thanking the National Guard and ICE and Border Patrol agents as they see them walking some of the streets of Chicago. They are saying, thank you for being here. You know who's mad? Gangbangers, thugs, the criminals. You saw it even before Trump sent him. Yeah, try coming to Chicago. We're going to show you. What did they show? Whistles? So we'll see what happens tonight, I guess. Tonight, everybody's all, ooh, what'll happen when the gangbangers meet the federal troops? Yeah, we'll see. And then, Pritzker echoed the sentiment. This is not making anybody safer. That is such a patently false statement to make. It's making people safer. People aren't going to be shot and killed when an army is standing there in the streets. D.C. proved it. There hadn't been a homicide in D.C. in 10 days that went by during the time that these cops and National Guard were in D.C. So it's false, Fatso. It is making people safer. It's a show of intimidation, instilling fear in our communities and hurting our businesses, Pritzker said. Fear? You want to see fear in communities? Show them the crime stats, the murder stats, the shooting stats from any given weekend in Chicago. That's fear. Intimidation? How about not being able to go down to a corner store because you have to pass armed gang members? Maybe that's intimidation. Hurting business? How about businesses that have no recourse for thugs walking in, grabbing whatever they want, and walking out? The best case scenario is that. The worst case is they get assaulted or killed. And that's Pritzker right there, the governor of Illinois. Holy moly. They just don't know anything. Anything. In Portland, who's their guy there, or their woman? Who knows what it is? Let me see. Kotek. That really looks like Kotek's. I'm sorry. Talked to Trump Sunday and said deployment was unnecessary. She refused to call up any Oregon National Guard troops, and so Trump did so himself in an order to Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. Putting our own military on the streets is an abuse of power and a disservice to our communities and our service members. It is unlawful, and it will make Oregonians less safe. They always try to push this less safe thing. How? Is there any proof that makes people less safe? You could look at the stats. You could probably argue the point that is your safety worth infringing on your rights? Now, if you can show that these National Guardsmen and ICE and Border Patrol being on your streets is somehow infringing on your rights, you might have an argument there. I don't see it. I don't think you do. But you might be able to argue that point of it, that it's a bad look. You can even say that. Boy, it's a bad look to have soldiers in the streets of our American cities. But how did it get there? How did it reach that point? Huh? Pritzker, you fatty, or Kotex there in Portland? How did it reach that point? You were doing nothing about it. You allowed these criminals to run the streets, and now something has to be done about it. You've been given long enough, and your dumb, expensive, wasteful, liberal projects don't work. That one in Chicago, in Illinois, all of Illinois they have. The peacekeepers. They give gang members money. And whenever a gang pops off, they send these peacekeepers to talk in real language. I'm keeping it real. And they find out a week later that the peacekeeper they're paying is part of the problem, involved in a murder, robbery, gang problems. They're projects, they're little pet projects where you give hugs and pats on the head. It does not work. It's a waste of taxpayers' money. And the bodies keep stacking up. And it's a perfect opportunity for Trump to step in because now it's affecting how he's following through with a campaign promise to deport illegals. And when the cities refuse to work with ICE and the Border Patrol so they could do their jobs and get rid of these illegals in our country, well, then you got to do something about it. On a federal level, the state isn't doing anything about it. It's a problem. And we voted for this. I love those social media posts. Love them. Is this what we voted for, people? Yeah. Yes. And a hell of a lot more, I'd say. This and a lot more. When I see those cops start cracking down on these just moronic protesters, they're cosplayers. They're like the people that go to the Comic-Con conventions. They dress up. They get their little shield. What happened to our garbage pail lid? Oh, Mom! I'm saving the world, Mom! Oh, right. Junior's saving the world, dear. Tell him he's got to cut the lawn. They're babies. They're children. They play dress up. And they go out and think they're going to make a difference. And all they do is make a mess. And now at least some of them are getting pushed on their ass, handcuffed, and dragged off. And maybe that will do something. I'm not even saying you have to escalate it to the level of, the 60s where a lot of people went home with less teeth than they came down to the protest with. But at least this might stop some of them from showing up. You were arrested. I'm sorry, Mom. Tater tots ready? All right. More of this, your calls, I promise, and a lot more when we return. Let's go right to JD in Philadelphia. What's up there, JD?
Tony, you said you called me, and you never called me.
Tony, you don't come. No, I didn't mean to. Don't jump off a bridge, all right? All right. Thank you, JD, for your Saturday Night Fever inspiration. What's up?
Pal, I just want to know real quick. I believe Donald Trump is making fantastic achievements in his administration. 5 years from now, where do you see everything that he's done with the next administration, be it Republican or Democrat?
Yeah, well, Trump is sort of supercharged as a president goes. He's got his hands in a lot of things. Some things peter out. Some things he's able to see through to fruition. But we're never going to see another president like him. So your question is definitely valid. Even a Republican president, maybe Vance gets in there. Yeah, I could see kind of a continuation with the mindset of MAGA, but without the guy behind it, like Trump, who he'll mouth off to anyone. He doesn't care. No, we're doing this. I don't care about my image. Vance has a pretty long career as a politician in front of him if he doesn't win the presidency, especially. So he might not want to go to the lengths Trump does. So I don't know. A Democrat, that'd be tragic. We need a couple of Republican terms before we go back to Democrat. And people are fickle as hell. They'll talk about how awesome it is, and then 8 years later, they hate the administration. They want something new, and they go right back to the garbage we had with Biden or Obama. So I don't know. I hope we see Republicans, and I hope this kind of vibe we have now, where we're not putting up with any of this garbage anymore, continues. What about you? What do you think is on the horizon?
But enough of this palaver. Let's get the show on the road.
Thank you, JT. I ask him a question, and he gives me old O&A sound bites, which is good. Proves he's been a fan for a while. I like that. Let's see. What do we got? Oh, my goodness. Yeah. It was not very difficult this week. Usually it's very hard to pick a clown of the week, but this week, I swear to you, one of the easiest. And I have a boatload of examples of this clown. She's reared her ugly head. Who is it? Clown of the week. No boop boop beep beeps.
The Anthony Cumia Show presents the Clown of the Week.
I just stay quiet till I hear the boop boop beep beeps. The Clown of the Week this week by leaps and bounds, Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris. She came back from just, where was she? There were a couple of clips of her drunk, probably, in my humble opinion, as to keep any litigation at bay. She always seems like she's half in the bag. So here's one clip. Here's her just blatantly lying or being completely stupid, or both. She's saying her and Trump's election, closest election of the 21st century. Let's hear.
The sitting vice president enters the race against a former president of the United States who's been running for 10 years with 107 days to go. And it ended up being the closest presidential election in the 21st century.
The closest, huh? Does she remember she didn't win a single swing state? Not a single one. They were flabbergasted at how poorly she did in her run for president. Tim Walz, her VP candidate, a complete embarrassment that really accented her embarrassment. And it was the closest election in the 21st century. So 21st century, you pretty much got, George W. He was in there, right? You could kind of call it that, sure. And then Obama, right? Obama and, And then I'm going to say, no, she's lying. She lost every swing state. Her election, her presidential run, regardless of what excuses they love to make, was one of the worst in history. In the history of presidential elections, it was the worst campaign. The most money spent and the lowest result from that money. All of your Hollywood celebrities and music industry people, Beyonce. Oh, no. Oh, well, who's Beyonce going to endorse? Taylor Swift. Oh, boy. Remember when Taylor Swift finally endorsed Kamala Harris? And everyone was like, well, that's it, I guess. Call it. Trump can't possibly win. With the Swifties, well, if 11-year-olds could have voted, it might have been an issue. This is how clueless they all are. This is what they were saying. And then when push comes to shove and the American people went to the ballots, they gave a resounding go screw, get lost to Kamala Harris. And all she's done is parade around to various talk shows now. I think she's shilling a book and make excuses for every single thing she did wrong. Everything that was her fault. I got into the election, the campaign too late. Joe Biden. I should have said, I'm not going to do everything Joe Biden does. When they asked her that question, do you stick by every decision Joe Biden made, every policy? And are you going to continue that or do your own thing? I'm going to be exactly like Biden. She said that. And that didn't help. That really didn't help much. And, we saw the results. So, clown of the week, Kamala Harris, but we're not done. No, no, no. Here's Kamala calling Trump a communist dictator. More of that rhetoric, that hurtful, violent, it gets the people revved up if they think their leader is a communist dictator. Let's hear this.
A tyrant. We used to compare the strength of our democracy to communist dictators. That's what we're dealing with right now in Donald Trump. And these titans of industry are not speaking up.
Communist dictator. That's what Trump is, right? Has he shown to be a communist at all? And he's the worst dictator ever. Oh, he's going after his political enemies. You ever see how a communist dictator, like Stalin? You ever see how Stalin, that was a communist dictator. Kim Jong-un, communist dictator. You see what he does to his political opponents? He doesn't indict them after a decade and use the judicial system to give them their due process, but he's a communist tyrant dictator. And then I guess Kamala doesn't like communist dictators, but then she endorses Zohran Mamdani, who's an actual communist. Listen to this.
As a sort of talent spotter in the Democratic Party, what do you think of him and his candidacy, and what do you think of mainline Democratic shyness and agitation about the prospect that he's going to win?
Look, as far as I'm concerned, he's the Democratic nominee, and he should be supported. Do
you endorse his candidacy?
I support the Democrat in the race, sure. But let me just say this. He's not the only star. I know that, he's in New York, and I know New Yorkers think they're the center of the world, and here we are in New York having this interview.
It is the biggest city in the country.
And I love New York, as the saying goes. I really do. But, there are people like Barbara Drummond in Mobile, Alabama, Helena Moreno in New Orleans. They're all running for mayor, too, and they are stars. So I hope that we don't so over-index on New York City that we lose sight of the stars throughout our country who are right now running for mayor and many other offices, governor, and so on. So that's where I am. We got a big tent, and we got a lot of stars.
Cut her off.
2026.
Why don't you back them all so they lose miserably? Give them your kiss of death. Touch them so they just turn to crap. Like you with your presidential campaign. We're not done yet. Oh, no. We got more Kamala Harris. Here's a very controversial part of the interview. She says she didn't choose Pete Buttigieg because he's gay. I didn't even know he was gay. But here's her statement on not choosing Pete because he's gay.
If his reaction to that, since this part of the book has come out, if you've had any reflection on that, or I guess I'd ask you to just elaborate on that a little bit. It's hard to hear. With you running as, you're the first woman elected vice president. You're a black woman and a South Asian woman elected to that high office, very nearly elected president. To say that he couldn't be on the ticket effectively because he was gay is hard to hear.
No. That's not what I said. Oh. That he couldn't be on the ticket because he is gay. My point, as I write in the book, is that I was clear that in 107 days, in one of the most hotly contested elections for president of the United States, against someone like Donald Trump who knows no floor, to be a black woman running for president of the United States and as a vice presidential running mate, a gay man, with the stakes being so high, it made me very sad, but I also realized it would be a real risk. No matter how, I've been an advocate and an ally of the LGBT community my entire life. So it wasn't about any prejudice on my part, but
oh, of course not.
We had such a short period of time, and the stakes were so high. I think Pete is a phenomenal public servant.
Then why didn't you put him on the ticket?
And I think America is and would be ready for that. But when I had to make that decision with 2 weeks to go, and maybe I was being too cautious. I'll let our friends, we should all talk about that. Maybe I was. But that's the decision I made, and I, as with everything else in the book, I'm being very candid about that.
Yeah.
With a great deal of sadness about also the fact that it might have been a risk.
She blames Trump. She goes, "No, I didn't exclude him from the ticket because he's gay." She starts out her whole thing saying that. This is liberals. She is the definitive liberal. And this is how they operate. They are amongst the most racist, sexist, homophobic people you will ever see. They treat blacks like they're pets. That's what they do. They constantly feel like they got to feed them like they're fish, like they're delicate fish, and they come up for food, and they got to do that. Soft bigotry of low expectations. That's how they treat blacks. And gays, they don't like gay people. They don't like gay people. And what she proved right there, she says, "Oh, I didn't not put him on the ticket because he's gay. It's because Trump is so homophobic, and he's got no floor, no filters. So I was afraid he would start going after Pete Buttigieg for being gay." That's, in essence, what she's saying there. So I didn't want to take the chance that Trump was going to be such a bully and so homophobic against Pete. And I only had such and such amount of days. I honestly believe the American people knew a hell of a lot more about Pete Buttigieg than they did Tim Walz. We've been seeing Pete Buttigieg forever. For the entire Biden term, as the feeble Secretary of Transportation. Jeepers. And so what was the problem? And if Trump was the issue, that he would be homophobic and say certain things, wouldn't you think that the country would rebel against that and say this is terrible and Trump's a horrible person for doing that? And it would give you guys more points having a gay guy on the ticket? No, she knew, like everyone else did, that a gay man was not going to help out her cause because he was gay. And then she picks up the white guy who they thought, like that's how they see a middle-aged to older white man, Tim Walz. That's their impression. They don't really know what a straight white man is in America. Because the truth of the matter is they look at someone and all they see is toxic masculinity and violence and white supremacy. So they pick this guy and go, he's a regular, heterosexual white guy. And then we look at him prancing around on the stage and every word out of his mouth is completely moronic. And you go, this is what they think. We got to pick a white guy for vice president. We can't have the gay guy. We can't have a black guy. So we'll get a heterosexual white guy to appeal to the right. And then we see this guy and go, what? That's what they think. It's exactly like how the left, how transgender women, men that become women, think that they're women. It's exactly how they see regular straight women. It's a parody. It's like some kind of a joke They go out and their makeup and dress and shoe, everything's over the top. They speak in a weird way that's kind of a parody of a woman. That's how they see everything that's normal in this country. When we look around, look, we know what normal is. We know what sane is in the United States of America, don't we, people? We know what America looks like. They don't. They don't. They're so insane that they thought Tim Walz was the good VP on that ticket because he's a straight white guy, a man. Meanwhile, he couldn't be further from that. But that's it. And they didn't want Pete because he's gay. Let's be real. They sat in a room with a list of people and said, all right, who do you want? What about Pete? What about Buttigieg? He's gay. Any liberal that you talk to should have said, what should that matter? He's just as capable. They're horribly racist, sexist, homophobic, every other thing. But they know throwing all this garbage into this country will screw it up. And I think that's their grand scheme. Who knows? Oh, God. There were so many more clips. We might get to a few more after the break, but we'll take your calls, a lot more. What else do we have? Newsom's very afraid that there won't be election. When the Florida state attorney refused to prosecute a guy, and what he did, it's way out of hand. Way out of hand. And they refused to prosecute this guy. Plenty more on the Anthony Cumia Show. Stick around. To New York State's capital of Albany. Richard, what's up, my friend?
Hey, WABC has
You're right.
the best hosts, but maybe you're my favorite.
Oh, I appreciate that, Richard. That's very nice. You've been partaking, maybe watching the ball games, drinking a little?
You know, professional sports, they can backseat the politics now.
Yeah, kind of. You're kind of right on that. Yeah.
Maybe it's 2016.
Yeah, there's many more important things. They've been inundated with political correctness, and the libs have completely taken over a lot of professional sports. And I just don't have the passion to watch. I couldn't care what the Yankees were doing this year, or the Jets or Giants. I think you're right. More important things, Mr. Richard from Albany. Thank you, my friend. Richard, I don't know. But I appreciate it. I appreciate it, my friend. Let's see. Jimmy, New York. What's up, Jimmy?
How did Richard get ahead of me? Seriously, how did he get ahead of me?
I don't know. He's been on the line a while. I figured I'd go to him.
So
I'm doing geographically north to south.
Gotcha. So I was thinking they should have, after Charlie Kirk's death, I thought about it, they should have a dog whistle law. Like Congress should come up with a law where, because it's politicians, our own politicians are demonizing people on small degrees, just enough to get away with it. But I think this is why people are getting killed, in my opinion.
Yeah. I absolutely believe that. As a matter of fact, let me see where I chit-chat about this whole thing. It might be later on in the show. I have it in my notes. Because I think there is a genuine MK Ultra program still going on that doesn't require such micromanagement, putting him in a room, giving him LSD, the programming that goes on. I think it's open to everyone and anyone. And these people in power that are doing these, what you call dog whistles, I get it, are utilizing them to do their evil, dirty work because they're so manipulative, or they're manipulative, but they're easily manipulated. The people, very malleable, very weak-minded, lost young people that they are programming through all the propaganda we see. I mean, it's very hard to argue that there isn't a bunch of propaganda being pumped into your face every single minute of every day. And to think that people haven't looked at that and said, wow, we can use that. We put it out to the world, and there'll be a few people that take it to the umpteenth level. And that's what we've been seeing.
Just enough where it's legal or you're not violating the laws, which they know, but they're saying it, and it's only one side that's doing this. And it's almost like, do we threaten to do it the other way? No. It's at some point something has to be done. So it's either both sides do it or make laws.
Jimmy, it's here, and you know what I'm going to say. It's the most difficult part of trying to make a law like that is the First Amendment. Where do you draw the line? How do you decipher what's a dog whistle and what's just somebody saying something, using a euphemism or something like that? It's a real sticky wicket.
I would say a public official with any demonization. In other words, maybe draw up where there's because it's absolutely the issue, and there's no doubt in my mind. So they have to make some just like there are laws now. You can't say certain things, or you're going to either pay illegally or you're going to pay.
Slander or libel have always they're not protected speech. So that's why it's very hard to try to whittle down what would constitute putting out something that might trigger somebody. It's a real difficult thing. I got to move on, Jimmy, but thank you, my friend. Yeah, it's I see what he means, and you know it when you see it. It's like that judge said. What was that? It was a few years ago. They were trying to define what constituted something that's obscene. And it was Larry Flint, United States versus Larry Flint. And at one point, one of the judges said, I cannot define obscenity, but I know it when I see it. And that's kind of what we're in here. But there is a First Amendment right. And you can say things. Look, Donald Trump said, if I don't get elected, there's going to be a bloodbath. And he was talking about the automotive industry in Detroit and the Ford Motor Company. And, that could be interpreted. And they were trying their damnedest to interpret it as some kind of a dog whistle. So, again, that's a tough one. I don't think you could really get around the First Amendment and do that. We know it when we see it. We should shun it. And if they are elected officials, we shouldn't vote them back in when that happens. All right, we'll be back in a little bit. Don't go anywhere. Plenty more of the Anthony Cumia Show to come in moments. I was just going through social media, Twitter, X, if you will, and I hear this. You know what this is?
حدائق نظيفة ومدارس قوية. لو سمحت انتخب في يوم الانتخابات للحزب الديمقراطي 24 يونيو.
I'll tell you what that is. Candidates for New York City Council are now doing full ads in Arabic. Full campaign ads in Arabic. We just remembered, paid tribute to the heroes and victims of 9/11. And, yeah. And if it was just a little enclave of Islam in New York City, then they wouldn't do that. They see a plus to doing full ads in Arabic because they know there's a constituency there. Man, boy, we just seem to be picking up the reins again. It feels like we're picking the reins up again. But there's still a lot to be done. This is definitely not the America I remember and I love and I grew up in. But unlike many generations prior that say the same thing, I don't think this is a very good thing. You know, you could look at some things and go, maybe I'm out of the loop on that. Maybe I've aged out of that. Maybe I just don't understand this. But I see no good in the New York City Council running ads totally in Arabic. It means that we've reached a point where they have pull. And anyone believing that old gag about the religion of peace and, well, Islam is this and that, and it's based in love, and you're out of your minds. And anyone that thinks, hey, you leave them alone, they leave you alone, we could all live together. Living together means you have mutual respect. You understand people's cultures and their morals, what they feel is good and bad, the difference between good and bad, respect for life. We couldn't be further apart. Islam and pretty much every other religion. But, as a Catholic, man, you could not be further away. And this bull about living together, buy a house and live together with people. It's hard enough when you do understand each other and you do appreciate their culture or who they are and how they were raised, and it's still a pain in the ass. You think we're going to be able to share a nation with a group of people that, first of all, reproduce like rabbits and have disdain? Not only, I don't feel they respect us. They hate us. There's a disdain for America, this country. They don't come here and assimilate to America and want to become American and partake in our customs and move into a neighborhood and make it better. They want to change the country. They say it. There's many, many people. You could watch a lot of videos of the grand plan, which is pretty much taking over the U.S., making it like the crap holes they left. It's the only reason. Why would you come to a country where you don't agree with the people? Not only do you not agree with the people that live there, you think everything they do is something that you believe is punishable by death. Why would you want to live there? Unless you were coming here to change the country. They already have their countries over there. Everyone is Muslim or dead. But everyone's Muslim over there. There's no one left to convert. So they're going to Western nations under the guise of being a refugee or making a better life for themselves here. And then wherever they move, they congregate and have a total disdain, total hatred for all things American. And we just go, oh, yeah, okay. Oh, I don't want to offend anybody. I'm not Islamophobic. What are we supposed to do? What the hell are we supposed to do? Oh, my God. This is Moose. Moose from Staten Island isn't a fan of Islam. What's up, Moose?
Hey, brother. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I have a lot of points I want to make. Just say, I've talked to you many times over the years.
Yes, sir.
I'm not as placid as the other guy from upstate, but Greek immigrant son, and a lot of these protests, I've seen them in person in Europe, and I just want to make a few points, and then I'll let you go.
Sure.
But it's like, when you look at it, it's like, what was World War II all for now? You
Bad word.
Sorry, I thought it was the XM days.
You gotta watch that language. We'll have to just cut the call if you do that again, my friend.
I'm sorry. No. I'm sorry, brother. I'm worked up.
I get you.
Will not happen again. I'm just so happy to hear you. But anyway, but you got kids who forge their papers at 12 years old, 13 years old, dying on the beaches of Normandy, crying for their mother, cut in half. All these people, Greeks, Americans, Italians, especially you're Italiano. So it's like when you see this stuff, these Palestinian protests burning through Italy and Greece and Europe, and I've seen them firsthand. And it's like, did World War II even make a difference? And my main point is, like, when they say things like you say, call someone a Nazi, the N-word. Can we say the Nazi word? Are we allowed to say Nazi?
I mean, yeah.
Okay. So that's the other N-word. But people don't understand the gravity. I have a lot of millennials in my family, and they don't understand the gravity of the word Nazi or communist.
No.
Because we grew up, my ancestors grew up, and your ancestors grew up in countries where until the 50s and 60s, even today, if you were supporting a communist, or you would be murdered. There's offices in Greece to this day that get firebombed because they're a communist party.
Yeah, communist. I don't know why it's become so fashionable here to be communist. I love you, Moose. I got to move on, though. There's Moose. Yeah, communist used to be a bad word. Nazi, of course, is a bad word. And I think the reason they get away with just calling everyone Nazi is because we just took it. We're not insane. The words people call us, there are certain words that if you utter that word in this country, people feel they're completely justified to kill you, to beat you, stomp on your head for a word. And Nazi or racist, it's all this stuff that when we were called that, you just went, oh, really? Yeah, okay, sure, I'm a racist, whatever. We didn't go crazy. You use the wrong pronoun with them, their head flies off. So maybe it is our fault. Maybe we gave them a little too much. Maybe we were a little too tolerant, and we should have spoke up and gotten mad when they called us these little names. But that's our fault, I guess. We were too nice, too pleasant, too smart. Dave, Joyzy, what's up, Dave?
Hey, thanks for taking my call. Yeah, you touched earlier about the MK Ultra. Mm-hmm. I definitely think there's an MK Ultra platform going on a mass scale as far as the public, because when you watch TV, especially the major news networks, every other commercial, as far as even the local networks, is a pharmaceutical company advertising for a medication. If you listen at the end, some of them, one of the side effects is may cause suicidal thoughts.
Yes.
If they could make you have suicidal thoughts, then they can make you have homicidal thoughts. And I think that a lot of these kids, thank you, and a lot of these kids these days, they're very messed up. Like, it's tell you that, but
it's a whole
so I
thing.
Think these buzzwords, they live up. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, Dave, I was thinking about this the other day, and it's, when you look at the original MK Ultra and Manchurian Candidate programs, and these were real programs. This isn't a conspiracy thing. They really did do this. They would drug the people with LSD to make their mind a little more malleable and, open to suggestion. And then they'd really do some sick stuff visually, hearing. All their senses were just invaded. And they would use this to put ideas into these people's heads and try to get them to do the final outcome, which they were looking for, was get somebody to do what they wanted them to do, even if it was against everything this person believed in. Now, you fast forward to now, it's the same thing. The drugs, well, they're pumping pharmaceuticals into these kids' mouths, psychotropic drugs, all kinds of lithium and Adderall, everything. They're drugging them. And then they're isolated, just like they would put these soldiers in these isolation rooms when they were on LSD and open them up to suggestion by playing audio and video to them. Well, these are lonely kids. They're isolated because they don't go out anymore. They're not amongst friends. They're staring at screens all day. They don't have real relationships with people. So now you pump the propaganda from their iPads, phones, televisions, computer screens into their heads. You have the MK Ultra program on a grand scale. Now, 99.9% of the people that are receiving it won't be susceptible to it. But they don't need everyone. They just need a few people that are off kilter, very open to suggestion, very lonely, and they've been able to use these tactics and techniques that worked years ago on the individual soldier on a huge group of people, and the result is the same. They get a few people out there that are willing to do their bidding. And if they villainize someone enough and say this person is the cause of all evil, they're going to get people that respond in attempting to kill. It's not a stupid idea, but I think it's pretty obvious now that it is something that's happening. Dave, thank you so much. We're going to take a quick break and come right back with more of the Anthony Cumia Show. This story is mental, just like all the rest. I couldn't believe it when I saw it. Florida State's attorney refuses to prosecute a man who was pleasuring himself in the park in front of kids. I don't think most people ever really thought about local politics and its effect on the country as much as they have in more recent history. We always looked at, obviously the president was the big gun. That was huge. And then maybe some of the residents of a state knew who their Congress people were, and senators. Maybe you knew who your governor was. But local, really, people didn't pay attention to the state attorneys and like local government, your city council members, because they're the ones that really make a difference to you. And, how the hell did Florida get a state's attorney? I think this is another Soros thing, where Soros just financed this woman. She refused to prosecute a man who was pleasuring himself in a park in front of kids. And I checked out this story. It's absolutely true. There's no twist to it where it's like, oh, well, of course she couldn't because this. She lies. I've seen the laws that are in place. There are laws against indecent exposure and pleasuring yourself in public. Never mind in front of where kids are around. That's a whole nother bag of fish. Is it bag of fish, bag of worms, sack of fish worm? And let's listen to her try to explain to you why she refused to prosecute this guy.
All things that are wrong are not illegal. And I'm not standing before you today telling you that what happened in that park was wrong. But I am standing before you today telling you that I trust the word of the attorney who was assigned to this case when he said, although those actions were wrong, he could not prove beyond a reasonable doubt that they were illegal.
Could you? Who's the attorney she talked to? The guy in the park? What other attorney would go like, I don't know. I can't really figure out if it's illegal. I'm certain you could find out. I'm sure there are laws on the books that prevent a guy. And if there aren't, there should be today, because this story maybe is 2 days old. There should be laws on the books today then. From the outrage of people going, you mean it's not illegal to diddle yourself in front of kids at a park? At a public park? But the problem goes much deeper, and we all know it, people, don't we? We all know it. There is an issue with attorneys, district attorneys, attorneys general, and they don't do their jobs. They just don't do their jobs. They're for political reasons, personal reasons, out of bigotry. We've seen a lot of judges that let a lot of bad people go. And to me, it looks like it's based on nothing but race. They don't want a young black man brought in front of a black woman judge. They have this nurturing thing going on, perhaps. They feel bad. They're racist. I don't know. I don't know what the reason is. But I see a hell of a lot of people that should not be out on the streets being released out onto the streets by judges because their skin color is the same. There are statistics that show that a jury will acquit somebody at a higher rate if they're the same race as them. Is that a jury or your peers? Really? And if they're not the same race as you, if let's say it's a black jury and a white defendant, they will prosecute or convict. They'll convict the person more readily than they would someone of their own skin color. This isn't, oh, look, Anthony's going off again. These are statistics. I've looked at these stats, and this is happening. So when you get a woman like this, and you know, I don't know the race of the person in the park, because that really doesn't come into play anyway in this case. At least I don't think it does. But it's a liberal ideology. They excuse people for just the most abhorrent behavior. This could be, you would look at a guy doing this and go, this is the worst thing, you know, one of the worst things someone could do in a park, in public. Let's make sure you set an example. And refuse to even bring it to court. She refused to even prosecute the case. Just let him go. Just let him go. And there's too much of that going on. Way, way too much of that going on in this country. And again, you know, a solution? Good luck. Good luck to that. I guess you got to get involved, you know. And then the whole thing with the financing, a lot of these DAs that are put in place, you know, New York has them, Alvin Bragg and Letitia James. They were all financed by Soros and his organization because he wants these liberal judges and attorneys put in place to overturn the legal system, to totally knock the legal system on its head, have criminals back out on the streets, have people feeling unsafe. It's pandemonium. And they don't do anything about it. Why do certain states, and New York again, I'll bring it up, why do they still have the no bail thing? How many people have to die or be injured because of this policy? It's a failed experiment. Good for you. You tried it. It don't work. It does not work. People are being killed because of this. Why hasn't it been repealed? Why immediately haven't they gone back to the system before where If somebody assaults someone, they are in jail for an amount of bail that the piece of garbage can't post. And it keeps them off the streets just that much longer. But no, they'd rather just keep putting them out there. And who pays? The people. I'm just shocking the world. Former shock jock, licensed to shock. Mayor Adams, of course, we talked about that. He's out of the race. And, everyone wants Curtis to drop out. And they go, because Cuomo's better than this. No, show them. Show them all. First of all, if every Republican got off their ass in New York City, 5 boroughs, he'd win. But you just sit there, you can't win, or you're apathetic, or whatever. But if all the Republicans in New York City got off their ass and voted, you'd have Mayor Sliwa. But now everyone's like, all right, Adams is out. Now we got to get Curtis out so Andrew Cuomo can be the mayor of New York City. And the question is why? Why do you want to hand that over to him? Why do you want to give him that prize? You just want to tell Curtis, no, go away. We'll take this guy. No. This is the bed they've made. This is the bed you've made, New York. You had de Blasio. You had Adams. You're ready to vote in Mamdani. And we're supposed to now bail out New York City by tossing Curtis Sliwa to the curb and voting in Cuomo? No. You had your chances. You had your chances with every one of those elections to not vote for de Blasio and Adams. But you did. And now, why the hell should we bail you out? Oh, please, drop out and vote for Cuomo. No. You're going to get Mamdani, and good. Live with it. Live with it, because you screwed up. No one wants Cuomo. No one wants Cuomo, except the people that voted for him for governor and voted for Adams. That's who. If you're a Republican and you want real change in New York, you'll vote for Curtis Sliwa. But you won't. You're trying to get him thrown out. For Cuomo? Oh, deal with it. I can't wait for my monthly visit, like a period it's going to be. I'm going to come back, look around, and get the cramps and a headache. I'm going to need Midol to walk around the streets of New York City when Mamdani is the mayor. But at least I can hop on a plane and get my ass out of there. You dummies need to pay. You dummies need to pay for your neglect in the voting booth for years now. So no, don't drop out, Curtis. And if you had any smarts people, you'd vote for Curtis. But you don't. So you'll have this commie. I saw a video. Oh, my God. It's Dopey Mamdani. He's smiling, of course. And there's this cartoony kind of animation playing behind him of what's going to happen with housing. Because, he wants everyone to be able to afford to live in New York. For some reason, I never understood why this big calling, there's this big thing that the Democrats and liberals want, that anyone who wants should be able to afford to live in New York. Why? When I was growing up and knocking tin for a living and making $29,500 a year, I wanted to live in Dix Hills, Long Island. But I couldn't afford to live in Dix Hills. But why? Shouldn't Dix Hills be affordable to everybody? No, it shouldn't. And why should New York? Where did this delusion come from that New York City should be affordable to everyone? And you gotta make all kinds of adjustments to the rents and public housing and this. How about you just say, yeah, sorry, it's out of your range. Go to Jersey. Go to Jersey. You could live there. Commute. My hand is all bruised up. It's the dog. He bit me, I swear. But that's what we got. That's what you're voting for. So I saw this little animation, and it's Mamdani, and he's talking about how he wants to buy up private land. He wants New York City, somehow. New York's broke. Baroque. But somehow, he's going to get enough money to buy up private property in New York City. And I guess the only way is to tax the crap out of anyone that's making a dime working in New York. So you tax them, you buy up private land, and you build low-cost housing on it. You know, projects. Because that's what it is. This happened years ago in New York with all the projects that they were building. And they were just ground zero for crime and drugs and everything else. Just terrible. And this is what he wants to do. And the animation was adorable. It was a lot, a little animated lot in New York City. And then the building went up, and then they showed inside one of the windows. It was lit up with curtains and a woman like watering a plant on the windowsill. That's your projects? What fantasy land is that? It'd either be boarded up or someone's firing rounds out of or into that window. Or you're yelling at people down below to bring you up an 8-ball. Unbelievable. Just unbelievable. The delusion. Look, it all sounds nice. Doesn't communism, sound nice? If it never existed, so you didn't know how awful it is and how it does not work, and it was just on paper, you'd be like, oh, man, everyone gets to live their life and no one's wanting for anything and we all support each other. You go, oh, but we know that's not it. It doesn't work like that. And there's not going to be a sweet lady watering her plant in that window. That's not what projects are. They're a bane of every city. But, that's his plan. Become landowners, buy up private property. Where is he getting the money to buy New York City property? Again, taxing the crap out of someone. Maybe he'll try some eminent domain stuff. I don't know. But it's preposterous, if I may use the word preposterous. The lovely Susan joins us again. Susan, how are you, dear?
I'm hanging in there. I'm very excited to hear this. This is really a game changer that Adams has dropped out because it's very important. Now, Monday there was an article in the New York Post describing how the ballot, this actually favors Curtis very much, that he doesn't have Adams on there.
Right.
Curtis's name is going to be next to Mamdani's. Cuomo is going to be no one even knows the name of this independent party. He could be Curtis. Mamdani's going to be on A. Curtis is going to be on B. Cuomo is going to be way down. We don't even know the name of the ballot. And he has such an opportunity right now, Curtis, to really show issues.
Susan, hold on. May I just jump in here for a moment? I've heard this before, oh boy, you got marquee, the marquee spot on the ballot. Do you think that really matters? I can't imagine someone walking in there and going, who was I going to vote for? These two guys on the front, or who's the guy down the line? I think if you're committed enough to actually get off your ass and go to the voting place on election day, you're not just ending up there going, wait a minute, who was I? Where's my guy? You're going to look until you find your guy. If it's Cuomo, I don't care if he's on the other side of the ballot, you're probably going to find him. So I don't know how good that is. I think it works in that Adams being off the ballot kind of, I don't know, it might not help Curtis. I think it kind of helps Mamdani.
I disagree completely. I worked on the board as a coordinator. I know how the ballot works. I know where the voters come in, and that it's going to be very confusing. And if Curtis uses this opportunity correctly to really separate, because Mamdani is against charter schools. Cuomo voted against it. Minority children are the most affected by the failing public schools. The mayor of New York City is in charge of the New York City schools. If he makes that an issue, but he's not doing it. He has to completely take this opportunity. We love cats and dogs. God love. I've saved many of them when I lived in New York City. But what about the children? 70% of them cannot read a grade level. 1/3 of them are illiterate.
I don't think
$40 billion a year on New York City schools.
Susan, do you honestly think that the mayor can do anything to make the schools teach these kids? A lot of them have no want or need to be educated. They look at an education as something bad, as something stupid, as something lame. And I don't think a mayor can do anything. As far as pumping money into the school system, that doesn't work either.
Charter schools are achieving for minorities.
What is that, like a school on a boat?
Teachers' unions cannot control them.
Yeah, the teachers' union's terrible. I understand that. The teachers' union's terrible. We need to get rid of teachers, be able to fire them for not doing their job. And we need more discipline in schools. They stopped disciplining these kids. So you got, a classroom of 30 kids. 3 of them are a pain in the ass. They distract every other kid. And you can't give them detention. You can't suspend them. You can't even tell them to leave the classroom. That's the point they've gotten to. And believe me, it's more than 3 out of 30. So until that's addressed, no one's learning. They're all getting pumped out of these schools. Absolutely moronic.
Charter schools are achieving for minority students because those schools don't have to follow the corrupt teachers union curriculum. And as mayor, he has control of the public schools since 2003. He has to really make that his mantle. He has to make this an issue because Cuomo did not get the minority vote in the primary. And Curtis has to really,
Curtis ain't
really
getting the minority vote. Susan, let's be real here. Curtis is not getting the minority vote. Mamdani is getting it. You will see a percentage over 100. It's going to be 105% of the minorities voted for Mamdani. That's what they do in New York City. They're idiots.
Why?
They're
they
stupid.
Want their kids to stay in failing public schools?
It doesn't even matter. Most of them don't even care about their kids, Susan. Take another shot. Lube up a little bit.
No, many of them do. Many of the grandparents are the ones taking care of these kids. They're in
the vast
schools.
majority don't even know what the hell half of them are out there doing. Okay. And the minorities will all vote for Mamdani. It's just that's how elections work. They see the color of someone's skin. He's darker than Curtis. Well, let's vote for the darker guy. That's how New York works.
That's not right. I know that because I worked in this whole area for many years in Brooklyn about charter schools and minorities, and it's just
you were in the circle of people that did care, but they're not the majority. They're the people that actually get involved and question the schools and
grandparents. They don't want their kids in failing public schools.
We'll see.
They don't want
All right,
it.
Susan, I got to go. People lose their minds when you're on too long. I love you. Take care, Susan. There goes. Whew, I'm exhausted. She seems sweet. I mean, but, and she was involved in the process, which is great. But the process itself is a bubble. You are dealing with people that are involved, people that care about their kids. So they're going to come to these school meetings, and they're very concerned about public schools and charter schools and money and teachers. But it's a minority of people. It's a minority of the minority. The majority, it's pandemonium out there. It's a cluster thing. They don't care. And when it comes to voting, we've seen it 1,000 times. Curtis can go out there and say anything and everything to try to woo the minority vote. It is not going to work. They are pre-programmed to vote for the minority guy. He's a minority. They're going to vote for the minority. They've done it before. They'll do it again. It happens in local, state. They all voted for. Look at Kamala. And Kamala was so bad that New York, especially New York City, didn't even vote for her in the numbers that you would think they would have because she was so bad. But black voters, 96% for Kamala Harris. What do you think Curtis is going to do? They will not vote for white people. It's just, if there's a minority. It's just the way it is. So sorry. So sorry. But them's the breaks. What do we got here? Let's see. Oh, Schumer. Chuck Schumer. Speaking of, Chuck Schumer is one of these guys that loves stirring the race cauldron. He will stand there and just everything's about race, race, race. And here he is. What's Trump going to do? He's going to bring Jim Crow back when it comes to voting. Jim Crow laws. More rhetoric, more harmful, divisive, race-baiting rhetoric. Listen to Schumer here.
It's been clear. When we fight for democracy, when we protect democracy, we got to fight fire with fire. We're not going to stand idly by, as Maya said. We're not going to let them revert to Jim Crow. And if you don't think they want to revert to Jim Crow, just look what they did.
Look.
In the SAVE Act, which went back to Jim Crow for the whole nation.
What?
By so making it hard, they said you need ID, and they made it so hard to
Jim
show
Crow
ID that probably half the people in America couldn't vote.
Half the people in America.
We wouldn't let it pass. Democrats, they needed our vote. They went to court. Many of us, Durbin, myself, and others, were lead plaintiffs, and we beat them in court. But it shows why we need legislation. Because these guys are undoing everything in every way they can. They don't want poor people to vote. They don't want people of color to vote. They don't want Democrats to vote.
Oh, boy.
They don't believe in democracy. We do.
What a lie that is. Jim Crow. See, again, just divisive. On racial lines, he'll stand there and go, Jim Crow. Like, really? Really? Is that what voter ID is? Half the nation won't be able to vote if they institute voter ID laws. No one could get an ID. It's the easiest thing to get. Absolutely free. You don't have to spend a dime. If you show that you can't afford to get an ID, they will get you one for free. It's the easiest thing to do. And they've made it look like the hardest thing to do. They made it look like Jim Crow, anti-voting laws. That's what they do. Meanwhile, easiest thing to do. The only reason they don't want IDs to be mandatory is because they want illegals to vote. When he's saying, Republicans don't want minorities, they don't want blacks to vote, they don't want this, what they mean is illegal aliens. Yeah, we don't. And that's the only reason this bastard and all the rest of them are trying to and have tried and have succeeded in keeping a federal voter ID law from being passed. We need legislation. Legislation that's also packed with money for illegal immigrants and mutilation of kids' sex organs for LGBTQ reasons. They load every bill with that, too. It's another problem. Chuck Schumer. And how long's this guy been holding that office, New York? You vote this idiot in every time, too. I can't tell you how New York State and its people have disappointed me for decades now. When are you going to smarten up? When are you smartening up, New York? All right, I'll calm down. Take a little break. I'll calm down. And more of the Anthony Cumia Show. See, I calm down and then I look at what we're talking about tonight, and I go, well, that's just going to get me all wound up again. But I guess that's a good thing. Hey, someone's got to get wound up about it. Jeez. This is Representative Jacobs. She was at one of these committees, and Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense. Is he still the Secretary of Defense? Even though they called it the Department of War now, he should be the Secretary of War. That's a pretty awesome title right there. So Pete's being grilled, as they say. I do like that Trump's cabinet, they will sit down in front of these congressional or Senate hearings, and boy, they don't take anything from these people. Because obviously the gimmick with these hearings is you're a congressperson or a senator, and you just want to pontificate. You're up there, you filibuster, you just talk, your own agenda, and then you try to ask a couple of questions, but they're not really questions. You're just bashing the person sitting there, and then you don't let them answer. The second they start answering, you go, oh, okay, all right, well, I'll take that as a no. It's a real show. It's a dog and pony show, whatever you want to call it. But this is talking about trans in the military. Now, Hegseth, and I'm sure Trump and everyone else with any sense in the military knew that having transgender people in any branch of the military, these are people that are, they would be fighting. They would be in the trenches, in the aircraft, on the battlefield, right next to the other soldiers. And somehow they twisted this in their sick minds that this was a good thing that will only make the military stronger and better. How? No one's ever been able to say how. Well, these are capable, competent people. No, they're mentally ill. And how is them being there better than just another guy that isn't gay, isn't trans, has been trained the same as all the rest of the soldiers, and is now part of this cohesive unit? How is the trans person better than that? How are they making the military stronger and better? It isn't. That's the answer. It isn't. And they cannot come up with some harebrained reason why it makes the military stronger. So Hegseth, under the of course, presidency of Donald Trump, said, yeah, we're not doing this anymore. If you're trans in the military, you're done. You're out. And you know, the idea of the military paying for the surgeries, having these femboys dressed up as women on submarines and aircraft carriers that deploy for months. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. So let's watch or listen here as Hegseth gives Jacobs a little piece of his mind.
Because if it were, you would be keeping these women in. Instead, you are the one injecting culture wars into the military, and it's at the detriment of our military readiness and national security. Now, General Kane, I'd like to turn to you.
So to be clear, these are men who think they're women.
These are women. I'm happy to educate you
but these are men,
on trans
and so
issues at another
what we've
time.
identified is that there's mental health issues with that belief system.
I'd like to turn to General
are
Kane
detrimental
now.
to readiness, and that's the determination that we've made and that we stand behind. Gender dysphoria.
And so you don't, because if it were,
I love it. I love it. Gender dysphoria. This is a mental issue. It has no place in the military. It's not a good thing. It's what I said before. Try to tell me why. Oh, they're women. He goes, no, because she said women in the military. And he's like, no, let's get this straight. These are men that think they're women. They have psychological issues, and they have no place in the military. It suffers. Readiness suffers. And she's like, they're women. I'll teach you with it. You're going to teach. They got. I almost said it. They have male genitalia swinging in the breeze. And she's trying to school Pete Hegseth on the fact that these are women. I think we're way overdue on getting rid of that whole bunch of garbage. They're not. They are men. And they have no place in our military. Oh, my God. It's laughable. It's Klinger. It's Klinger all over again. We laughed at Klinger. Back in a minute. Just watching a clip of Trump golfing. He's 79 years old. He's smashing that ball. Just smashing it. And then they were some of the usual suspects on social media were all mad that Kai Trump, his granddaughter, she posted a video of her in the White House. I guess they have a little golf simulator in there. And for some reason, that was a problem. For some reason, that was a problem. It was some, the entitlement. Oh, in the White House, the people's house shouldn't be used for this. What, should she have brought in some cocaine? Would that have been a little better for the people that appreciated the Biden years? A little coke in there instead of wholesome golf, a little wholesome golf practice. Trump's family's awesome. They try so hard. If there was any real juicy scandal, or even if it was something small, don't you think they'd have been all over that? They're just well-behaved kids and grandkids, and it's refreshing to see. But, talk to the wrong person. It's the worst. Terrible. They're white supremacists. They're Nazis. Their grandfather, Kai's grandfather, is a Nazi. I don't know. I don't think we've ever been more divided, more far apart in our thoughts and ideology than we are at this second. And by the way, tomorrow it'll be even worse. Thank you. Hope you feel good. Hope I'm making everyone feel great about everything. Well, this woman should. This woman should make you feel good. She's been rearing her ugly head also. Hillary Clinton, of course. I believe she was Clown of the Week last week. But she's been out and about doing The View and all those shows. And this is an interesting take she has. She says we need to stop demonizing each other. This is what the left does. This is what the Democrats do. They get out, especially after the tragedy we saw with Charlie Kirk and just all the violence that the left just can't seem to hold back. They love it. They demonize, and then they lash out in some violent act. And Hillary, like the rest of them, of course, says we need to stop demonizing each other. And then it's got to be a second later, starts demonizing half the country. It's classic Hillary Rodham Clinton. Let's listen.
We have got to stop demonizing each other.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, I think most of that right now in our country's history is coming, from the right, coming from people who want to dominate. They want their point of view. Slavery from history. That doesn't make it go away. We have got to stop with the finger pointing and the scapegoating.
She just pointed her finger. We got to stop demonizing. You know, it's the right, the ones that are doing the demonizing. And by the way, yeah, she's pointing her finger at the right. And then we just got to stop the finger pointing. Oh, God. Speaking of God, thank you for having us dodge that bullet. The first bullet, the Hillary Rodham Clinton presidency bullet. Because if you're anything like me, I was freaking out back in 2016, working its way up to the election and then election night. Oh, I, like everyone else, I'd fallen for the propaganda and absolutely was convinced Hillary was going to be the president and Trump was just going to be an also-ran. And, thank you, God. Thank you for saving us from that. Imagine. Oh, God. And she'd have gotten 8 years. She'd have gotten 8 years. Oh, oof, oof. Oh, it gives me goosebumps. Here's another Hillary. This is, she's, quite frankly, she's projecting what she has done and what the Dems have done. And she's trying to project that onto Trump and the Republicans. But as she's speaking, listen to what she's saying. It paints a perfect picture of what she was doing along with the Democrats in weaponizing the judicial system and everything that they were doing, trying to get rid of Donald Trump. Listen to this.
I view it as very dangerous. It is right out of the authoritarian playbook, Willie. I mean, this is, this is point 4 of the authoritarian playbook. Silence your opponents. Cripple the media that doesn't give you the slavish attention and agreement that you desire. Use the power of the government to go after corporations and individuals. I thought, Jimmy Kimmel did an excellent job last night in, being very emotional, actually, about that moment for him and how he felt misunderstood. And he certainly didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings. But on the other hand, standing up for free speech. I've said a million times, I mean, good Lord, the things that have been said about me, the lies that have been propagated. If I had only known, I could call up the FCC chair and say, take this person off the air. Get that person out of my sight, off with his head. Yeah. I'm just looking at Joe.
What?
Yeah.
What? I've done nothing but... Please, the projection there is unparalleled. Oh, yeah. What did he do? The judicial system, going after his enemies, shutting down people's ability to voice dissent. Oh, sure. The media. Donald Trump was banned from Twitter. That was a lefty running Twitter, and the government, the Biden administration, had instructed YouTube to remove people's accounts. Not just get rid of the videos that talked about COVID and talked about the election fraud, stealing the election in 2020. No. It had nothing to do with that, right? That just happened. That's exactly what they did. YouTube was instructed by the Biden administration to get rid of accounts that talked about COVID and talked about the election. And later we find out that both of those had at least a lot of questions to ask about the election and COVID, that very reputable doctors that were saying the vaccine wasn't the answer, that things like ivermectin may be a good alternative to treating COVID. All those people gone, wiped off social media. Twitter and YouTube, 2 biggest platforms, and Facebook and Instagram, but 2 biggest platforms. And who was doing that? The Democrats, the Biden administration. But Hillary will lead you to believe that that's the Republicans. That's Trump. That's part of the playbook, the tyrannical dictator playbook. And using the judicial system against his enemies. What? The guy's got a mugshot. He was arrested, tried, convicted, sentenced. A lot of people that worked for him were put through these kangaroo courts where lies. I mean, we're looking at Comey right now, who was indicted. I mean, that guy, talk about perjury. He perjured himself. He lied in front of Congress. But, you know, that's just revenge on Trump's part. We have audio and video of Comey committing perjury. What did you have on Trump? Oh, we bought a property and used Mar-a-Lago's equity to get a loan, but they decided the equity wasn't as high as the bank even decided when they gave him the loan, that he paid back with interest on time, no harm, no foul. That's what they got Trump on. And they ran him through the mill, 34 felony convictions. They can't stop talking about it. And with Comey, it's pure revenge. All the lies that were told, the Russia lies, all that nonsense. And it's in video. You can see them committing these crimes. And you could see Comey committing perjury. And that somehow is just revenge. All right. Sure it is. I bet. But that's Hillary. I was going to make Hillary Clown of the Week, but we had done it last week. So I just wanted to get those clips in there because they just keep popping up. You ever turn over a piece of slate when you were a kid? Nothing better. When you're a kid, you know, you just, maybe it had been raining or something, and the slate, it's been in your front yard or backyard. It's a pathway leading up to the door, and you're just hanging out in the backyard, and you go, hey, I wonder what's under there. And you pop it over, and it's just a nightmarish image of monstrous bugs and creatures. Yeah, that's Hillary. That's Hillary. Every so often, someone pops the slate, turns it over, and we got to look at her mandibles and antennae. Ugh. All right. Back in a couple of minutes. Don't go anywhere. Anthony Cumia Show. Yeah, I was talking about Kamala and Hillary and the like, how they just pop up. You don't see them a while, and then they pop up, and they're just as stupid as they ever were. Lying, just like always. And this is J.D. Vance talking about Kamala. Kamala, like I said, we played a few clips of her earlier in the show. She's been out and about promoting a book and just more lies, more of that nonsensical babble, drunken babble that she does. We all have a light. Our light shines as does your light. And you're like, what are you saying? So J.D. Vance had enough, like all of us. And he commented on Kamala Harris. This is quite accurate.
Problem is not that Kamala's campaign was too short, it's that it was too long. That when people actually listened to what she had to say, her polling went down and down and down. I think that if we had a 150-day campaign, we probably would have had 3 additional Republican senators, and Donald Trump would have won by an even bigger landslide, because the more people know about Kamala Harris, the more they realize there's no substance there. I mean, agree or disagree with Barack Obama or Bill Clinton, they actually had substance. They could actually articulate a viewpoint. I listened to Kamala Harris for 90 seconds, and I actually feel like I've gotten dumber in the process, and I have no idea what she actually believes. That's the problem with Kamala Harris, and it's going to continue to be her problem unless she actually learns how to develop a viewpoint, articulate it for the American people. Just say what you actually believe. Don't do this word salad, talking around in circles. It doesn't work, and it's why she didn't win.
It's all she can do, though. She can't do any better than what she did. That was the best Kamala Harris you'll ever see, was during the her campaign and right before the election. That was the best Kamala Harris you would ever see. She's stupid. She's not smart. This is what people have to realize. It's a hard truth sometimes. You don't want to use words like stupid, but sometimes it's the only word that really fits. Some people are just stupid. And Kamala Harris is one of those people. When Barack Obama, who J.D. Vance was just saying, at least he could articulate his position on something. He would get up there. People looked at Obama, called him a great speaker. Yeah, it was all scripted. It was, I don't think it was very sincere, a lot of what he was saying. And then he'd have to say things like Kamala Harris is the most qualified candidate we've ever had for president of the United States. Ever, by the way. He said that. I remember distinctly him saying that because I couldn't imagine anyone but the most profoundly retarded saying something to the effect that she was the greatest candidate, the most qualified candidate ever in the history of American presidents. So I always found that kind of funny. But Vance puts it there. She's just, you feel dumber for listening to her. There's another clip here from Trump, and this one is slamming Jazzy Jasmine Crockett and Ilhan Omar. These two, of course, they're thorns in the side of America. These are two women that do not like this country. Ilhan Omar comes over from Somalia and wants Somalia. She wants to rule over some sovereign Somali subcountry located in the state of Minnesota. That's what she wants. No part of America. I want to rule Somalis in a microcosm of Somalia right here in Minnesota, USA. And she's been doing it. She's another one that'll just speak whatever gibberish that is from Somalia. Somali, is that a language? And she just hates the United States of America. Everything it's ever stood for, every institution, everything we held dear over the course of centuries, the couple of centuries and change we've been around, despises it, wants no part of it. And she's a representative. Now, it's lucky she's a representative of people that feel the same way. They don't like America. So how did that happen? Why are we in that situation? Minnesota, of all places. And then there's Jasmine Crockett, who is either really stupid or she can play stupid very well. She's a chameleon, when she has to seem enlightened and smart and educated. She can do that to an extent. But when she needs to ghetto it up and be just one of the sisters, y'all know what I'm talking about, and break into that, she can do that in a second. At the drop of a weave, she can change into that. The drop of a Jiffy Pop shower cap. She's all ghetto. And, I've featured both of them over the time I've been here. So I don't think we need anything new from them. But Trump in the Oval Office, and this is why you best appreciate Donald Trump now, because this is it, folks. You are not seeing this again. You just will not see a president like this. You don't like him? Good. Good. We don't need a president like that. Well, don't worry. Don't worry. At the end of his term, you'll get someone else, and it'll be back to business as usual, politics like it was, their little club that you ain't invited to, and, it'll be all the same. The lies, there won't be much more accountability because they're all in the club. Trump wasn't in the club. So you'll miss this. You'll miss this when it's gone. Here's Trump slamming Jazzy Jasmine Crockett and Ilhan Omar.
Yes, please.
Jasmine Crockett recently.
Jasmine Crockett. Remember what I said? Is she a relation to the late, great Davy Crockett? I don't think so. Jasmine Crockett, let me tell you, before you even ask, she's a very low IQ person. I mean, if we ever had to pass an aptitude test, that's the one should take one because she shouldn't even be in the crowd. So I have no idea what you're going to, but I don't think we should waste our time. This is a low IQ person who I can't even believe is a congressperson between her and Ilhan Omar and the group. I met the head of Somalia. Did you know that? And I suggested that maybe he'd like to take her back, and he didn't want her. He said, "I don't want her." Okay, what else? Go ahead. Let's hear what Crockett said. Go ahead.
She compared ICE raids to slave patrol. I want to ask you.
To slave?
To slave patrol. I want to ask you if you think that there should be consequences for members of Congress who make these types of comparisons or use this type of language.
Well, I think she's gone over the line, and I think a lot of the people. Look, the Democrats have become radical left lunatics. They have policies that nobody's going to buy. And, I see what's going on in New York. We're going to have perhaps a communist mayor because it's split up. If the people would get together and have one candidate, they'd have, I think, a pretty good chance. But it looks like maybe they're not going to do that. But we're going to end up with a communist mayor. It's not even believable, my beautiful New York. When I left New York to become president, it was a great place. But it was the beginning of bad things because we had de Blasio had just started as mayor, and I said, this guy's this guy's a real nut job. Went to Harvard to teach management. Can you believe it? He went to Harvard to teach city management along with the mayor of Chicago, who went to Harvard to teach. The two of them are teaching how to manage a city manage it into hell is what they do. But that was the beginning, and now we're going to go.
That's hilarious. Like, you miss that. You'll miss it. I guarantee you'll miss that. He's talking about two congresswomen, low IQ. This one's an idiot. I love it. Hilariously funny. You'll miss him. I'll be back in moments. I was watching a clip of Gavin Newsom, and I guess this is going to be their guy. It's pretty early to tell now. I'm still under this, impression that they're going to wait until about a year to go, and they're going to bring out somebody that doesn't have this Democrat liberal stink on them. Everything we've been seeing, the Jasmine Crockett and Ilhan Omar and all of the people that they're Cory Booker that are the cannon fodder for the left. The left is screwed up so bad. The Democrats have made such a mess of their party with this extremist left-wing nonsense that all of them have the stink on them. So even especially Gavin Newsom. They want to parade him around like he's the next Democrat candidate for president, but this guy reeks of Democrat and liberal. California, I mean, really? It's a disaster. And I think the only thing they could do is try to find someone. We don't even know who they are yet. If you're really into the minutia of politics, you might know his name. He's somewhere right now. And, like a garage band in the 90s, in the early 90s. It's garage band. And then all of a sudden they're just the biggest thing because they're not the ridiculous hair bands of the late 80s. Something new, fresh, doesn't stink. And that's who they're going to need. And they bring him out, and he starts talking like a moderate Democrat. And that sounds like a conservative. Because in contrast to what the left and the Democrats have been for years now, all you have to do is have the slightest bit of common sense. And if you start speaking with the slightest bit of common sense, you will look like the greatest candidate for president ever. So I think they're allowing the nuts to still go out there. Jasmine Crockett, that Presley, Representative Presley, and the rest of them, to go out there and continue their insane Black Lives Matter, LGBTQ, trans stuff, and look like idiots, and we all roll our eyes. Just so in contrast, this guy, and he'll be a guy, he'll be a white guy. And people, America will look and go, whoa, this guy's like JFK. It's all they could do. If they're not planning on doing this, then they're complete idiots and have no chance whatsoever of winning. But if they pull that off, just keep this guy under wraps. 1 year to go, you start putting him out there. And he starts talking about, I don't think men should participate in women's sports. What is? And you just watch people freak out like he's the greatest thing ever. Is he a Republican? No. Because he's all about abortion, but he doesn't talk about abortion. He just says a woman, should have the right to this, that. He doesn't make a big issue of abortion. His issues are the economy. He talks about the border. I think, a secure border is imperative, very necessary to the sovereign nation. And what? And then he throws out a few little liberal things, like old school liberal stuff. He will be the greatest thing to the Democrats. But they're so entrenched. They own every bit of this nonsense, this horrible, disgusting, chopping off kids' healthy breasts, drugging them. They own it. There's no way any politician with that stench on them is going to walk up in 2 years and go, I'm running. Aren't you the one that you're all for men in girls' locker rooms? Yeah. So good luck. It's the only plan. They should take my advice. Take my advice. Let's go to, I think you got to click that continue thing on my phone thing back there at HQ. At the, there it is, operations. Yeah, right. I think that's it. Boop. There we go. Joaquin, Pennsylvania. What's up, man?
Good evening, Anthony.
How you doing?
I got a song in mind for you. How about Alice Cooper, No More Mr. Nice Guy?
I love it. It's appropriate. It fits.
J.D. Vance is just too nice, and the guy that you're talking about, just as soon as that Democrat gets in, he's going to go right back to the other policies and going to.
Oh yeah, no.
That we have.
Joaquin, I hope I wasn't. People didn't mistake that he was going to be that guy. He's just going to be that guy to run for office, and then once he gets in, we'll see all of the usual nonsense that the left throws out there. Anyway.
And the thing of it is we've really fallen very far short as far as labeling goes. We need to demonize them. We need to vilify them. And we need to show them for exactly the Democrats that they are, because this allowing them to call us Nazis when they're the ones who use all the Nazi brown shirt tactics. You know, I call them little Hitler minions.
Yeah.
That's what they are. And we have to put them out there. And I'm going to say right now, New York voters are as dumb as lampposts. Because if they are going to elect this guy, Mamdani in, this is just ridiculous. And to say that Cuomo was any kind of an alternative to him, he's the one who gave you the no bail and all these other anti-police policies.
Yeah, no, my whole take on that is you don't deserve to have Curtis leave this election. You don't deserve it. You've screwed up so many times that, no, you're going to get stuck with who you want. No, none of these games to get stupid-ass Cuomo in there to prevent Mamdani. You brought us to the point where Mamdani is even a viable candidate, so live with it now. Live with it, New York.
And now we need to really take a really good look at Europe right now and see what's coming our way. I was, yesterday or last night, I watched a video on X of an English judge, UK judge, sentencing some poor guy to jail for 2 years. He could have gone for 7 just because he posted he didn't want his tax money going to support, Muslim migrants in his country.
Yeah.
And this judge sitting there with his wig, his judge's wig on and everything, and talking so high and mighty. I'm thinking to myself, America, this is what's coming for you. And you remember that 14-year-old girl who chased off a Muslim attacker with the knife and
the knife and the axe, right?
Did you see the video of them arresting her?
No, did they arrest her?
Yeah, there was a whole big thing where they had a whole procession, or whatever. Their cops went and they arrested this girl, and they're basically marching her down the street.
Jeez. Yeah, they're lost, man. The UK, although, I spoke with Gavin McInnes. He was over in the UK for that big rally they had. And he said it was inspiring. And, for all the bad we hear coming out of the UK, it kind of felt like there are a lot of people there that are sick and tired of it. Like here, up until a year ago, it looked really grim. There was no light at the end of the tunnel. And now we see, it's great to see the ICE agents starting to kick people and get them out of the way. And it's great to see people confronting the LGBTQ supporters and saying that that men don't belong in women's sports. And they're very vocal about it. I think what you said earlier, Joaquin, about we need to be demonize these people more and be more like they are. I don't even think we have to go that far. Our problem has been we've been way too tolerant. All we have to do is stop being tolerant. We don't have to be proactively evil. We just have to stop putting up with this nonsense that we've looked at and smiled and turned our heads and went, oh, God. Like, start speaking up about it. Disagree. Say no. Say go screw. I'm not going to address you by they, them, or zim. I'm not playing along with your dopey games. And I will do whatever I can to make sure men aren't playing in women's sports or ending up in girls' junior high locker rooms. This is what they want, and we got to put our foot down and say, nope, ain't happening anymore.
But, the other problem, too, is in Europe, they've basically criminalized and locked up almost all the Donald Trump, mega make Europe great again candidates. They've criminalized them all. Marie Le Pen, I guess, in France.
Yeah.
Sentenced to 5 years or something like that. I mean, there's a whole list of these.
Well, they tried. They tried to do it here, man.
In Italy, she's very impressive that she managed to finally get into office there because she's pretty strong.
Yeah, but, she's pretty cool.
And also, Susan was talking about the charter schools. I don't think the average person really understands charter schools. I mean, to the average working person, that's worried about paycheck to paycheck, it is enough for them to get their kids on the bus to go to school every day. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
The ease of the public school system.
Yeah, most people wouldn't even know what charter school is. Yep. Thank you, Joaquin. Appreciate the call, my friend. Always good to hear from Joaquin. There was something else here. Oh, I didn't even get to Gavin Newsom. He's afraid that there won't be an election in 2028. And this is, again, more of this dog whistle, more of this trying to influence weak-minded, lonely, drugged up young people that might hear something like this and go, oh, my God, my democracy. They're telling me this is an existential threat to democracy. It's Donald Trump. That's the problem. He's not going to leave office. He's not even going to leave. He's a dictator. And what does that kind of start to manifest in a weak, impressionable, mentally ill mind? I could be the hero. I could get rid of this guy, and I will get the attention and accolades. I will have saved the country. This is what they're doing. This is that MK Ultra 2025 that I was talking about. Listen to Gavin Newsom here, if you can. It sounds like he was gargling with lock washers. Check out Gavin Newsom.
I fear that we will not have in 2028. I really mean that in the core of my soul, unless we wake up to the code red, what's happening in this country, and we wake up soberly to how serious this moment is.
Serious. Serious. Code red. Democracy. I don't think he'll leave the presidency. No election in 2028. How the hell do you even say something like that? The guy was president. He was president for 4 years. As per the Constitution, he left the office of president at noon on Inauguration Day for Joe Biden. What indicators are there that he's going to pull something so insanely unconstitutional? And here's why. They're just trying to, again, influence the moronic masses, because they know he's just going to leave office. I don't think Gavin Newsom really thinks Donald Trump isn't going to leave office when his term is up. But they need to pump this propaganda out to inflame the people and get them mad, so they pull these horrible actions like assassinations. That's what they're doing. He knows he's not going to leave, that he's going to leave. He knows it. But they got to keep that garbage going. It's disgusting. It's unbelievably disgusting. Hey, another girl on the line. Sandra from Jersey. What's up?
Oh, hello, Anthony.
Hello.
Anthony, how you doing? Yeah, how you doing? I hope well.
Great.
I wanted to say that one down, one to go. However, I want to praise Adams for what he did. To me, whatever the real reason is, to me, he did the honorable thing. He's trying to help save the city. Next one that has to go is Cuomo. And if he leaves, I think Curtis will win. I'll tell you why. I watched those two, Curtis and I watched Mamdani. Curtis has more energy than Mamdani. Curtis has more passion. I mean, I really think if we can arrange a debate, why can't we have a debate between those two?
Why haven't they?
I don't know. Why can't we have one?
I would only assume that Mamdani doesn't want to do it. He's in the lead. Why would he take the stage give?
But shouldn't it be mandatory? It's only fair to us. We have a right to see both of them. Why not?
We do have a right, and I don't think they can make it mandatory. But Mamdani, I think it would be dumb for him to want to debate Curtis. Curtis is great on his feet. He's very sharp. He can talk. That guy could talk a good game, and it wouldn't bode well, I think, for Mamdani. You could call out all of his communist programs that he wants to put in place. And like you said, Curtis he's passionate about New York City, and, he doesn't have the polished edges that a lot of these politicians have. And people go, the cat thing, the dog thing. I think that's a great attribute for a mayor to have, someone that's compassionate for animals like that. I think it's a plus I think it's a plus. And I think he has energy. You know, Curtis is no kid anymore, which is funny. I always think of him as the dopey kid with the red beret in the subways back in the 80s. No, that's like anymore. How I think about him. And he's not. He's a very knowledgeable, well thought out guy. But, again, Sandra, I have no faith in the voters of New York State, never mind New York City. That I have no faith whatsoever. Anyway, thank you, Sandra. I do appreciate your call. A lot of interest in this New York mayoral election, especially with Adams dropping out now today. And we'll see. We'll see what happens. I hope, I hope that there's some kind of miracle and Republicans in New York City do what they should do. Staten Island's always a good one. You get Staten Island, but what is Staten Island? I think it's the lowest population borough in New York City. A lot of houses, a lot of suburbs, no big buildings really. So, of course, a lot of Republicans live there. But the rest of New York, I mean, you look at some parts of Queens and Brooklyn, you could drive miles. You won't even see an English language sign on a business for miles. And you think those people are going to vote for Curtis Sliwa? They're voting for Mamdani. He speaks their filthy language. I don't know. All right, everybody. I'll be back in moments. Don't you go anywhere. I'm watching. Popping in and listening, participating with the show. Do appreciate that. A couple of more things to get to. There's one is, I talk about this all the time, how Hollywood is just insane. They're evil, an evil cabal. They're a club. They keep to themselves with their dirty, filthy organizations. They're just they're not America, that's for sure. And they just prove time and time again how crazy they are a lot of times through their own children. They raise kids that end up drug-addled, trans, a lot of trans. I've talked about that before, too. How one celebrity, they're not even married. They just adopt kids, and then they become trans. The odds are absolute zero. There's no way this could happen, but there they are. Hey, I got 4 trans kids. What are the odds? The odds are, they say that's impossible. But the latest was, the UN was in session over there in New York. And who is it? Jennifer Garner and Ben Affleck's daughter got up in front of the UN to give a little speech. And she gets up there. I guess she's 19. COVID started when she was 14 years old. She goes up to the podium at the UN last week, and she's wearing a mask. And her speech was about how we all still need to wear masks. Kids especially. If kids get COVID, they'll get it over and over again. They'll get long COVID. All these things we heard over the course of COVID. But she insists that everyone mask up. Not again. Mask up still. She's been wearing a mask for 5 years. That's how insane the Hollywood mindset is. They're degenerates. They have more trans kids than is humanly possible, and they put out kids that are mental. Imagine, for 5 years, you wake up and you put that mask on your face and walk out of the house, and you're living your life under that mask. The damage that did to a lot of kids that were in school, never saw the bottom half of their classmates' faces for a year or two. And, the parents weren't like, hey, why don't you just cool it with the mask? Not only were they not saying that, they were like, hey, go to the UN. Get in front of the world and let them know you've been wearing a mask for 5 years. That's Hollywood. Hollywood. The other thing I wanted to get to really quickly is Burlington. It used to be Burlington Coat Factory. Now it's just Burlington. It's a store. You buy things there. And they're now using facial recognition to get into the store. They'll take a picture of you. There's a big television screen. You walk in, something that looks like a chute they put cattle through. And there's an electric gate at the end of it. And you have to look into the camera. It takes your picture. Your picture pops up on the big TV screen. And I guess if you're approved, if you haven't been a shoplifter, the gate opens and you walk in. And I saw a couple of videos of people just so angry at this. This is terrible. Burlington, how dare you? Do you know this is America? Yup. It certainly is America. It's America 2025, where businesses have been forced to take up extraordinary means to keep their inventory from being stolen. Just not just one little shoplifter coming in, taking one thing, armfuls of your merchandise. 2, 3, 5 people at a clip piling merchandise into their arms. Tens of thousands of dollars. Sometimes, depending on the place, I think a Louis Vuitton got robbed a couple of weeks ago. Over $1 million. And they're just walking in, grabbing stuff and running out. And it doesn't seem anyone wants to do anything about it. They don't have security guards in the place. They're not allowed to stop them when they go to leave the store with the merchandise. And if you are brave enough to try to take a picture of them or their car, they'll throttle you. They get out and beat you up or worse. So, using technology to just try something to keep my merchandise. And that's a problem. I've seen other videos where everything in a CVS is locked up behind plexiglass. We've all seen this. I hope you don't live in a neighborhood where that's happening. But, we've seen it before. And people bitch and complain. Why is everything locked up? Why we got to call people over to unlock the... Well, because they're being robbed blind. And then when something does happen where the store finally goes, we're being robbed blind every day. Our staff can't walk to their cars without being robbed or assaulted. So we're closing down the location. And then some poor old lady, they get her on the news going, I don't know where I'm getting my prescriptions from. They shut down the store. And then everyone starts crying. And it's got to be fixed. It's got to be fixed. Maybe one day. All right, kids. Thank you for tuning in. We do appreciate it. Anthony Cumia Show. Check me out on X, Anthony Cumia on X. And we'll see you back here next week. Adieu.